Okay.
Let's go. Oh mine. I forgot to press the intro. Hello, hello, and welcome to this beautiful episode of You Are the Masterpiece. That's exactly what happened when we go live. But let me just play the intro and we start our conversation. Well, and welcome back again. And I am here today with the guest, my dear guest, Susan Glusica. And before we dive in, just wanted to welcome everybody who is tuning in for the first time. If this is the first time you're tuning in to this podcast, my name is Irina Portnova, and I'm all about manifestation, magic, and how do we actually play with our energy to consciously create what we desire. And this podcast is all about just saying that, hey, we do not have to be perfect as long as we are taking the effort, and we are all work in progress and the masterpiece at the same time. So I'm super excited to introduce Susan Glusica, who is our guest today. Susan, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Yes. So tell a little bit about yourself and what you're doing in this world.
Oh, sure. So, long story short, I cut my teeth on Wall Street. And after a 20-year successful corporate career, I had a crisis of legacy. I couldn't see my footprint. I couldn't see my legacy. It felt very heavy going to the office every day. And one of the people in my world at the time, my financial advisor, said, "Why don't you come over and do what I do? Because education runs in your blood. A lot of what I do is education, and you'd be great at it, and you'd see your legacy every day." And I said, "All right, he must see something in me that I don't." And I
Mhm.
said yes, and that was 15 years ago. And so that in that business, and I've since become a multipreneur, but I'll explain that one. So I help people add what I call your self equity ecosystem, so that you can grow wealth faster and more securely. And it's very, very attractive to the people that I work with, who are usually post transition women who are trying to catch up. Right. And so
Mhm.
this is a very effective way to add those multiple rates of return, so that you can effectively catch up and have the original, retirement income, right? I like to promise 2 to 3 times more retirement income, but it depends on the case, right? And
Mhm.
then, so I'm doing this work, like I found my thing, planning sets me on fire. And lo and behold, I realize 8 years in, it's a little harder than it really, quote unquote, should be, because it was a little bit like oil and water,
Mhm.
where I was speaking about like exponential wealth building, and people are stuck in like a summation game, right? So I'm
Mhm.
talking about 3 times 3, they're talking about 3 plus 3. And I said,
Mhm.
there has to be a better way. And I discovered in the summer of 2018 the 7 energetic levels of money consciousness. I call them the 7 money realities. I wrote a book about it, Money Energy Mastery. So anybody who wants access to it and to determine which one you're in and how to get to the next one very easily, right, it's out there. And then I built a coaching methodology around that, so that I could get to my next highest level in serving my clients by helping them get 2 to 3 times more money on the front end. And then they were more of a fit for the planning that gets them 2 to 3 times more on the back end.
Oh my God, this is so beautiful. I love because the topic of today episode has become a match for your money reality desire. And I just wanted to pause for everybody who's listening and just, because a lot of people, I call it live in 3D reality, where they just know what they know and they have the fixed mindset and they are not even open for these kind of ideas. a lot of times they listen to these conversations and they just, laugh or be very skeptical. So, Susan, let's just kind of deal with these objections and show people on your own example. How did it all unfold for you once you stepped into that knowledge and understanding that it's not just our finances, but first comes our mindset?
Right. So first, before I do that, let me just clarify. If you are happy with your results, don't change a thing, right? Nothing needs to change. You can stay in middle class mindset because it got you where you wanted to be. Awesome. If, however, you are not satisfied with where you are and you feel like you're built for more and you want the more, then continue to listen in, right?
Mhm.
I know I shifted. I was brought up in a very scarcity mindset from the get-go. It was just the way my parents were raised. Again, very well-meaning, and well-intentioned upbringing, but it's all that kind of upbringing is all built around survival, right? It's
Mhm.
deeply programmed in this human species down to the DNA, right? Of living and breathing, surviving to live and breathe another day, right? That's it. So that's like the
Mhm.
status quo of survival. And again, if you're happy with that, hats off to you. You can stay
Mhm.
there, right? If you're not, there is a way forward. And I'll explain with my experience that so coming from a family where we're Christian, and so we celebrated Christmas. We still celebrate it, but as a young child, I was taught that I could only have my dream gift once every 3 years because I had my two other sisters who on the alternate years,
Mhm.
right? So we circulated that gift, right, of getting
Mhm.
what we really wanted. I'll never forget as a teenager getting the stereo of my dreams, but it meant my sisters couldn't get what they wanted that year, right? So I was
Wow.
taught not to want because I was taught that it meant somebody else was going to need to give up something so that I could have.
Mhm.
There is nothing true with that statement. It's just the survival mentality, right, of middle class mindset.
Mhm.
What shifted me was so when I became an entrepreneur, I wanted to replace my six-figure income, and that first year was the most difficult I've ever lived through. First of all, nothing teaches you about yourself more than entrepreneurship. And
Mhm.
when you leave corporate, you're operating, you're kind of and it's easier to perform for another than it is for yourself. When you
Absolutely.
start working like, you're the business, you are like you're wearing all the hats, you're trying to figure it out on the run unless you're working already with a coach, right? And standing on their shoulders
Mhm.
to short step that. So there I was, and 6 months in, I said, "Oh, I can't figure this out quickly enough on my own." So I started hiring coaches, and in my first year, I had 3 coaches like simultaneously because I was
Mhm.
working on mindset. I was working on sales. I was working on how to run an efficient business and actually make the bank that I wanted,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
To quickly replace. Now, I didn't do that fast enough, and I had a personal bankruptcy, unfortunately, but there were other elements that combined, and I wrote about it in one of my collab books with a friend. It's I call it my perfect financial storm because there was
Mhm.
a combination of circumstances that I didn't know how to, as I know now, how to out energize, right? That's what I call it. But so there I am chugging along, chugging along. Finally, things started to turn, right? It was like year 3, I got year 10 results. So things started to shift, but they really weren't shifting as exponentially as I knew that they could. And in the summer of 2018, when I had my signature discovery and became a product of my process, the very next year, we had a household $1 million year. We up leveled both of our vehicles. We up leveled our house. And in a few years later, we attracted through inheritance a Croatian apartment that we like to go to every year for a month. So I take a sabbatical every year, plug into that vibe, right, and get recharged. But I really don't need to be recharged because what I do, I love. Like I have
Mhm.
finally created the lifestyle in the service level that I am built for, and that lights me on fire.
Oh my God, I love everything what you shared. So what comes to me, let me just summarize. What comes to me, I hear you that there is always a shortcut. You do not meant to do this work alone. And again, coaches need coaches. So there are a lot of coaches who might tune into this episode, understand that we all thrive better with the structure of support. Because again, the way we wired as the humans, we do not see our blind spots. No matter how successful each one of us is, we still have the mentor, we still have somebody who help us for our next level. Because again, as long as we are breathing, we are constantly evolving and we are moving from one level of awareness to another one. There is no such a thing, I know it all, because like I said, there is something to discover on a different, deeper level. And the most important thing is just to understand that once we make that decision, because a lot of people sit in fear of the unknown. And I was also at that point at one time of my life until I discovered manifestation. Once it worked for me, then I said, I'm not afraid of anything because I know if I put my mind into something, if I have the laser focus on my desire, I can definitely have it. So, first and foremost is to have the desire and to make a decision. Because once you make a decision, everything starts unfolding for you. You start running into the people who can take you to the next level. You start meeting these people that are going to take you basically to the next level. Not only the coaches, but also somebody who knows another person and another person, right? So the doors start opening. So this is something that I would love to tune on the focus and the volume on, to bring the volume on, because again, if we want to compare, a lot of people are afraid because it's not so much tangible when we are talking about energy and how everything is created. But at the same token, energy works exactly the same way as if you were to play the new instrument, or if you were to learn the new language, or if you were to learn the skills you've never done before. Basically, what you have to do, invest your time, invest your money, and practice on a daily basis. That's practice is going to make you do things better.
So a couple of comments that, and just to support what you're saying. So we're always, everything is always seeking to go from unmanifest to manifest. And the greatest primer I can share, and you probably know this already, is Wallace D. Wattles' The Science of Getting Rich. It's a short book. You can get it for a free PDF. Just search for it and just read it and reread it, reread it, right, until you embody it, because that will explain, right, to your brain that wants to understand the how this works in terms of applying it specifically to money. And he says in there is nothing more noble than the pursuit of money. And it's not, we don't want the money. We want what the money enables us to be, do, have, and give, right? So I have one of the money realities is called loving money. It's not the love of money. It's loving money for what it enables us to be, do, and have, and give, right? And the like being the frequency match, right? So let's talk about that, because that's what we're here to talk about. So like Einstein said, you get to be a frequency match for the reality that you want. It's the same with money. If everything is energy, you may have heard this, right? If everything is energy, so is money. Money to me equates to currency, your essence, right? So when you show up, you mentioned this, Irina, when you show up in your full and highest level service to better humanity, to solve, pick a problem and solve it, and you will attract the money, right? As long as that is at your highest value, right? So there's your value, and then there's how the world sees you at your highest value. And that connection in the center is the sweet spot of showing up in there and really just honing in on where that value is for you relative to your unique value blueprint, which is what I call it, right? So you can fully express yourself to the world, attract the people who are in alignment to what you're doing and how the problem you're solving. They go, oh, love what you're doing, love how you're doing it, I'm in, very easily, right? And if they don't, you celebrate that because it's not in alignment. And that means that the right aligned person is like next, right? So I like to celebrate the unpreferred circumstances to pivot into a higher level of frequency. And
Yes.
one resource, just to like, if you want a resource to kind of dig into, Power versus Force by Sir David Hawkins, where he's a PhD and an MD, where he created the map of human consciousness and a log of 0 to 1,000 of whatever state of consciousness you're in on the average. There is a resonance frequency vibration, right? So for example, courage is 200, love is 500. Anything 500 and above is going to be that high vibe space. So I go into joy and happiness and gratitude, which is the highest vibration we can embody, to as the quantum leap into the higher money realities, right? Into the more money.
Yeah, I love what you shared, and what comes to my mind is that it's all about, before people deny something, learn about it, and then you can say, okay, I try it, I tested it, it didn't work for me. But
Yeah.
again, it all takes also the like the to stay the course. It's for somebody who is not a quitter, because the quitter is never a winner, and the winner is not a quitter, right? So as long as you stay the course, as long as you sometimes it gets rough, but if you have somebody by your side, if you have the community of like-minded people, it's like a game change. You're not alone fighting against the world. You're just like embraced, and you are in that loving bubble where you can grow and explore yourself, and also attract everything what you want, because
Yep.
people know that the saying as to be in the right time in the right place. That's exactly what frequency is.
Yep.
Once you tap on that frequency, everything starts showing up like magically. Oh my God, this opportunity, that person comes to your life. Everything starts shifting, and we all experience it at one point of life or another. So
Because there are three universal laws at play here. Everybody knows the law of attraction, right? Like The Secret talked about. But there are laws that the law of attraction leverages, right? Such as the law of vibration and the law of resonance, right? So that's why it all works. That's how it works, actually. And when you align with the fact that universal law exists, right? And it works for all people in all the ways all the time, then you stop trying to push the river and you start flowing with the river, and you start elevating your what I call your financial frequency, right? Which is, people talk about money mindset, and that is important. However, the energy or frequency or vibration comes before the thought. So if Bob Proctor were alive today, I would have a debate, a friendly debate with him, because he said you think on a frequency, but in my experience, you need to be the frequency first on which you think. So if you look at it this way, right? If I'm in a high vibe frequency state of consciousness, my thoughts are going to be in alignment with that. So high vibe thoughts, high vibe feelings, high vibe actions, high vibe results. If I'm in a lower, like shame or worry or regret or fear, a lot of people are walking around in those states, especially looking at what's going on in the world today. Doesn't matter what decade you're talking about, there's always something going on in the world, right? And so what I like to help people focus on is, how do you shift, right, out of the low, slow, dense vibes that are attracting the abundance of unpreferred circumstances, and get into the higher vibes so that you can actually start attracting and leveraging the universal laws for what you truly want, desire, and deserve.
But you know what, Susan, let me just pause for a second. I agree with Bob Proctor, because
I know.
we can consciously choose our thoughts. And when we consciously choose our thoughts, what we want to show up today, how do we want to be today? How do we want the world to perceive us? How do we want to attract things, right? Everything stems from our thinking. So we always can choose where we want to show up ourselves, and that's exactly is going to match our energy, right? Because our thoughts and our words, our emotions, and our actions, everything is vibrating on a frequency. So again, it's like, not to say that one is right or wrong, but I just saying that why do I agree with Bob? Because this is the way what I teach people, because no matter on what frequency we are, we can always tap to a higher frequency, right? And that's we do it through the tools and through our thinking.
Yep. And totally respectfully, right? Like in a friendly conversation, I would submit that we are more than our thoughts. Yes, thoughts are things and they're important in the manifestation process. Absolutely. Right. And I did a lot of mindset work before I figured out the energy, and my manifestation was still not consistent. Right. Or where I really wanted it to be. And it was only when I got the energy, the frequency piece before the mindset, that things started to really shift, right? And this just could be that, you're not ready for the energy piece yet because you have to do a lot more mindset work first, right? It could be, right? So it's not you, but your clients, right?
Yes,
Like, yeah,
yes.
your audience, right? So I'm not saying, and I don't judge, right? Like, so
No, we are
total
just having the
acceptance
conversation.
zone, right?
Again, you
And
know what? I love, like Susan, what I love in this work altogether is to know that there is not such a thing as right or wrong.
right,
Everything is neutral.
right.
And, there is nothing bad or good. No, everything is
And
neutral.
Bob Proctor would have said the same thing in debate.
Yes. And it's just, like the perception, everybody
Mhm.
has the different perception, whatever
Right.
we are putting our emotions to. That's exactly how the reality is formed. That's why I love these conversations, because somebody might listen to that and they completely connect with what we are talking. Another person is going to say this is a
Right.
total BS.
And it's
And
all good.
it's all good. Exactly. So basically, what we are doing, we're just spreading the word
Yeah.
and allowing others to open the corner of their mind for the possibilities. Because
Yeah.
again, once I discovered that we co-create with the universe, it was like mind blowing. Knowing that we are not sitting with our, diagnosis, that the doctors are not the gods, that we can still heal our body naturally,
Yeah.
knowing that, like there are plenty of soulmates. There is such a BS saying, okay, this is the only one soulmate. BS. We have more than one soulmates in our life. So just tap to the one that really matches your list of the wishes. And also knowing that you can do in this world whatever you want. And also you can tap to that financial abundance. And
Mhm.
once you realize everything is possible, it's like you live in a different world, knowing that, there is no fear. There is just, the exploration and joy, and you just take that life as an adventure.
Yeah. So it's interesting, right? Let me share this about energy to your audience, right? The reason I love working in the energy is, and mindset does, right, play a part, and it is very important, right? But I love to focus on the energy piece because energy goes beyond time, space, and dimension, and can
Yes.
do the heavy lifting and can collapse timelines, right? It can connect you to a quantum leap, which is not about skipping steps. It's about how quickly you go through the steps, right?
Mhm.
So it depends totally on what do you want? What do you really want, right? So
Mhm.
that's it, it enables me to meet people where they're at. And I just gave somebody a particular type of VIP day. I'm giving somebody a different kind of session today, and somebody else a completely different VIP day at the end of the week, right? And they're all different levels. They're all getting
Mhm.
what they need, right? Because but they're still getting the same core thing of how do I become a match for the money reality desire, right?
Mhm.
How do I shift my energy? And the person who got served yesterday left feeling seen, held, um, expanded, and lighter. And
Totally.
she released a money trauma that she had held for decades. Thought she had done all the mindset work about it, but I gave her a release protocol that just works in 30 seconds, and it was amazing. And
Mhm.
yeah, so like that quantum leap of the energy piece is awesome. And you want to be able to get like there's two ways to get results, right? There's the slow and steady. So there's affirmations and reprogramming your mindset and all of that. And you do need that because of the way the brain works and because of the role, the primary role it serves for you. And there's also, you mentioned decision, right? You can make a decision to give yourself permission to have a different experience. That's the fast way. And my methodology combines those two so that your inner programming doesn't fight the next level work.
Yeah, and you know what, we can always, like kind of leap from one frequency to another. We do it all the time. Again, remember, our thermometer is our thinking, because everything stems from thinking. In one day, we can vibe high when we are just, like doing the visualization or bringing ourselves on that reality where we are like, the normal people call it daydreaming, right? We call it visualization and all other energetic practices, again, energetic practices. But at the same token, if something goes wrong and we are not managing our mind, again, the energy is going to reflect as well. So I would still say they are coordinating. They are still, reflect, and our energy reflects what's inside of us, right? So I totally agree that everything stems, once our energy is the match for the reality that we desire, that's exactly what we are experiencing. But how do we raise our vibration? Through the thinking, through the mindset, and everything else in between.
Well, I would say I would also welcome to people into it's through awareness, right?
Yeah.
Of what you're thinking and what that means about the state of consciousness you are in.
Yes.
Right? If you're doom and gloom, your energy is really low. If you're high and expansive and in gratitude all the time, you're in a very elevated financial frequency, right? And again, it's whatever that state of consciousness is, you're going to be a natural match for a specific level of money, right? And if you want more information, go read my book. It has all of that in there, and you can actually take steps. There's some exercises in it to help you move to your next money reality. And and
I love our conversation, Susan. Let's just give people at least a couple of tools. Okay, we have a great discussion, but now I would love to give them something that they could test and try on their own.
Okay. So the first thing that I always invite people into, if it's a fit or a match for you, is to come to my private LinkedIn group. And you can find me on all the social medias. Just tell me that you saw me here and I'll send you a link to that group. And it's where I go live every week to solve the challenges, the top challenges for highly ambitious fempreneurs and business leaders like yourselves. That's the first one. The second one is I have a tip sheet on my website, susanglusica.com, and you can just go there, put your name and email in there, and optionally your phone if you want me to have it. And you get the 7 keys to bring in more prosperity with ease. And those are actual rubber hits the road suggestions. And there's a couple of bonuses in there. And then there's a link if you want to schedule a clarity call with me where I identify your biggest money challenge. Well, it's actually I identify your biggest money block in 20 minutes or sooner so that you become aware of the next thing for you to shift. And there's nothing as generative as clarity. So come get yours.
I love it, but still, let's give them the tool right now, right away.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yes, as they're listening to us, let's just give them, something that they can walk away from this conversation.
Okay.
If somebody, let's say, if somebody haven't done any kind of this work right before, they're just living in there like, okay, I have my saving account, I have my pension, and so on and so forth, retirement. How do I actually start attracting money? Something like in that nature, what you help people to do. What would be like?
Got it. So in my coaching practice, there are, and I just went through this yesterday in a VIP day, there are 7 steps to creating the money you truly desire. Step 1, as you mentioned before, is getting clear, crystal clear, because the universe rewards specificity, not
Right.
ranges. I want about, no.
Mhm.
So how much money to the penny do you want to make in whatever the time frame? For my VIP days, that container is 30 days because there are always 3 time horizons. This is not very well known, so I'm going to speak to it now. There are 3 time horizons that as business owners, we are always managing, right? There's the, what am I doing today to make money in the next 30 days? The second one is, what am I doing today to get paid in the next 90 days? And the third is, what am I doing today to get paid a year from now? And you're always simultaneously managing those. Where I start with people is the first one, because I find that there are a lot of people who are kind of kicking the can down the road and like, well, if I make whatever the money is by the end of the year or by next year or
Mhm.
within 2 years, they'll even kick it that far out.
Mhm.
What if
Mhm.
you could collapse that in half? Like, what does that look like, right? I'm
Mhm.
always supporting and holding space for what's possible.
Totally.
I want that paradigm shift. I'm the envelope pusher, right? And when you come into my space, which I hold safe space for, you're going to be invited into that. So go there now, right? What's possible? What if I
Mhm.
can have it sooner? What if I can have what I want in the next 30 days, right?
Mhm.
What would that look like? What amount of money do I truly want? You can take your year's goal and divide it by 12,
Mhm.
and boom, that's what you want for the next 30 days. Maybe you're in catch-up
Mhm.
mode. A lot of people haven't gotten to where they wanted to be this year. 75% revenue down, 84% revenue down. I've seen it all, right? And so what do you do with that? Well, maybe you're in catch-up mode. So maybe your usual 30-day goal needs to be doubled. Here's the deal. Energetically, it takes the same amount of energy to create $1,
Totally.
$100, or
Mhm.
1,000 or a million, doesn't matter, right?
Mhm.
Same
Yep.
amount of energy, different value exchange, but same
Mhm.
energy, right? And it
Yes.
starts with really honing in on your desired outcome and like stating it to yourself. So here's an
Mhm.
example of a manifestation statement you can begin with. I am so happy and grateful now that I have easily, effortlessly, and joyously, all high vibe words,
Mhm.
created, as in a past tense. So you're writing the future into creation now. Whatever your money desire is, down to the penny, don't forget those pennies or
Mhm.
cents, depending on your currency. Buy or more, buy, and then a date. So I just did yesterday was 30 days out, was Wednesday, August 13th, 2025, as an example,
Mhm.
or sooner, because prosperity enables me to relax and so become healthier. The relax and so become healthier is for your ego brain. Here we go, mindset, right? The
Mhm.
mind requires that so that it gets behind the manifestation and doesn't resist or fight it.
Mhm. I love that. Yeah. So, so good. Yes. And it just like bringing into our existence, whatever it is. And I know a lot of times it's not showing up right away, but the idea is you just keep the course, and the more you focus your mind on your goal, the more that goal is coming to you, and you'll see that breakthrough, you'll see that magic. Susan, thank you so, so much. That was a pleasure to have you with us. Thanks for sharing all these beautiful golden nuggets. And for everybody, reach out to Susan. You have the links, and continue be the work in progress the same way as the masterpiece, because life is a game. And once you have the cards to play it, you'll see that it actually shows up in your favor. Thank you so much, everybody, and see you on the next episode. Bye.